Get all the spider webs and everything cleared off. Okay. All right. Hello, beautiful. Oh, hang on. Let me get my earbuds in. Get it untangled here in a minute. There we go. All right. Whoops, sorry, you guys. Sorry about that. Not for sure if you could hear that or not, but I apologize. How is everyone doing? Welcome from Canada. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So grateful to have you here. And I believe your name looks familiar. I believe you've tuned in before, right? Because it's Andrea, isn't it, Andrea? Hello, Miss Louise. I got spider webs, spider webs. Yay! All right, beautifuls. I'm just going to wait a few moments and let others join. So I hope everyone is doing well today. It has obviously been a minute since I have gone since I have gone live, and since I have been online. There has been so much, so much, so much, and all of my energy has been fully present in this wave of mastery, which it always is. It always is. And I began realizing just how much time, and time is energy. So I was realizing just how much time I was placing into social media that was necessary for me to get back. And you guys hear me speak about this as well. So that's something that I move through pretty often in terms of my reclamation is, any energy that's going out that is necessary for me to access to a greater degree, it's going to come back in. So I'm really excited to be here with everyone and to be delving into. Welcome, Cindy. So grateful to have you, beautiful. So grateful. I'm really excited to go on this journey with everyone and to feel and experience and just have all that's here for us to journey through. Please let me know. I know sometimes where I'm at, because I live in the middle of the woods, I know that the reception isn't perfect, but I do want to make sure that my phone isn't freezing, and I want to make sure you guys can hear me. So just please let me know if the audio is good and what the video is looking like. Because the weather is actually really nice here today, I was considering going and sitting like I usually do in the fall and sometimes in the winter, depending on how cold it is. I will sit out in the sun and I will harness the rays from there. Okay, yeah. cutting in and out. That's what I thought it might be. So I want to see if I can get us in a good, in a pretty good position to where maybe I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, but hopefully it will at least the audio will be good, and hopefully the video will be decent. So I'm just going to shift a little bit. How about that? I don't know if I'm going to move everything out there, but I can at least put us in a better position right here. So thank you. Thank you for letting me know, Miss Louise. It does much better here than normally. Instagram doesn't seem to really be upholding the lives that well anymore, which is why I started moving everything back here. So I'll probably just, if I post anything on there, I'll just upload a video if I do. So probably going to be mostly here from now on. All right, everyone. So I know people will still be probably dropping in for the next little bit. The biggest thing I want to speak into really quickly and just guide us into as we begin to step into this is bringing us into a deepening of the awareness. Now, you guys have heard me speak into quite a few things in regards to mastery, master choice point, all the things recently, because when we were on the master path. So I do want to clarify a few things as we go into this. Thank you for bearing with me as I get settled here, because I walk into so many spider webs and I come out here and they just get caught. They get caught in my hair. My hair will end up standing straight up and getting like so many tangles. So I'm always clearing spider webs out of my hair. So when we're choosing to be on a higher path, and the higher path is what you will hear me refer to as the master path, because the master path is always rising in perception. Now, perception, a lot of times we hold this belief. I feel as a collective, because I myself have held this belief, and I have come directly into contact and working with those that carry the same belief and are now shifting out of that belief, that if we learn something new, sometimes we believe that that means we hold a higher perception. Perception, now, in one line of experience, that would be true. If we are on a line of fear. Now, this is going to be very interesting for some, I feel, because of the way people perceive fear. Fear has many, many, many tones to it. Many tones, just like love. People understand love in different dynamics in different ways. They understand fear in different dynamics in different ways. Fear isn't always trauma. Fear is denial. Fear is deception. Fear is defiance. Fear is something that comes out of the self because of emotional entanglement. Emotional entanglement is where we get so invested in what we believe or what others believe that we are not willing to release the reins, and we're not willing to relax. And if we're always in a state of what we believe is relaxation, if we're always in a state of what we believe is feeling good, if we're always in a state of believing our connections are giving us a sense of intense empowerment, we have two different lines that can present us with that. And again, this comes from my own experiences, and it comes from those that I directly connect with on a day-to-day basis that are shifting out of one line into the other. So it is something that exists, and I want to bring it into the awareness as we begin to move into this, because it is always my wish that everyone have the highest experience possible. So sometimes you're going to hear me speak into things, and it could create a bit of resistance within you. Of course, what I say is not what's creating the resistance. It's something within you that is putting a wall up and not allowing you to relax into the experience of the words. So all words that are expressed through me are actually tones. Every word is a tone. I do not hold a certain belief about a certain word that I say. There is nothing attached to it. It's just simply energy. Just as emotions are meant to be in their freest form, they don't have an identity. It's not joy, it's not love, it's not any of that. It's just energy. So it simultaneously, the human is experiencing itself in the different energetic bodies, and the emotion being one of it. Now, as we ascend in mastery, we ascend in understanding what each body is in its entirety, what it represents through us, and how we shift into becoming whole and complete, where all bodies come into unity within the self. And the only way that can happen is if you're willing to let go of and no longer choose to be emotionally entangled in another person, in a belief, in a thought, in an idea, in anything. If you energetically remain so entangled into anything, you will remain in the physical, because the physical is bound by the experiences of the mental and the emotional. That's what creates the physical realm. So if we're not willing to let go of beliefs, if we're not willing to let go of certain ways of thinking, if we're not willing to let go of certain people, then we are entangled energetically, and we can't ascend into anything because we ourselves are not willing to let go. And so my question before you is always and ever, is, it might not be that maybe mastery isn't really your calling. Maybe it's not your thing. Because when I speak of mastery, I'm not speaking of special people. It's not that people that master are special. It's that it's a choice. And if everything in this realm is based on choice, it's always about what are you choosing? For me, everything is about mastery. So when I speak into things, I'm either going to be speaking directly into it or always from a place of it. When we experience these tones, they're truly in their purest form, are coming from the heart. Now, not the physical heart, not the perceived heart of what the emotions represent, not the perceived heart of some portal that is imagined. It is quite literally a star of consciousness. So is the soul star, so is the sun star, so is the universal star, so is the earth star. They all represent stars of consciousness, and they connect us to very unique, very specific, and also not so specific ranges of consciousness. And those are always and ever represented through us. When we are on a path of choosing to be, let's say, you guys in my last live on Instagram, which was probably like almost 2 weeks ago now, I spoke about telepathy. There is psychic telepathy and there is emotional telepathy. I really want to invite everyone into viewing something connected into emotional telepathy, which then also transcribes into psychic telepathy. If you are entangled in those lines, and there's a lot of people, we know so many now especially, that claim themselves as empaths. There's two different types of empaths. There are empaths that are connected through the clear lines, which are the psychic lines. If you're empathetic, you feel what other people feel. So what does that mean? It means that you are entangled emotionally in what other people are feeling. Therefore, you end up absorbing what other people are feeling. Now, a person, just because you're empathetic, everyone on this planet has an opportunity to be empathetic. Everyone. Just like psychic empathy, you can pick up on other people's thoughts. You can pick up on other people's emotions. That's your clairs, okay? Beliefs hold a very intense stronghold. Yeah, there was a lot there. I know, that's why after that live, there was even so much more that's being birthed in my soul pod, and it's been really intense. There's been a lot that has been unfolding. We have been rebirthing so much. And that is why I speak into this, is because it's not only what's here now, but it's what's here all the time. It's available all the time. And if you're not aware consciously of what you're choosing, you will just say you're conscious, and you will say, yeah, I'm making conscious choices, because you perceive that you're aware. But your awareness hasn't really caught up to what true awareness is. And I know that can seem confusing, but just hang in here with me. Emotional entanglement is very, very strong right now. Especially, it's like that in every community of people that gather. You get a hive mind and you get an emotional mind. And so there's a really intense exchange of beliefs, an intense exchange of emotions. So when people gather at a large capacity, they feel so rejuvenated and they feel so re-energized and they feel so good and they're high on this energy. That's emotions that are entangled in a consistent exchange of beliefs and thoughts. Anytime an image or an ideology, an idea, an image of an idea, anything that is processed through belief is exchanged, there is always and ever emotion connected to it, because you become emotionally invested in what you believe. Welcome, Corey. So grateful to have you, my dear. Now, why is this not? So I want to say what it's not, or what it is. It just is what it is. When you're on the path of ascension, there is no emotional entanglement. You are releasing emotional entanglement. The path of ascension is not about what you believe. It's about simply what exists and what is within the existence of now, as frequency, as tone, as vibration, because everything, as you guys know, as you've heard me say, everything is light and sound. And light has a sound. Sound creates vibration. In the frequencies of the mind and in the identities of emotion, we have ego that's very much immersed in every bit of that process. Ego is always there and always showing up and is always connected into those exchanges. And I know, because a lot of people, myself included, on the spiritual path will say, because I'm on the spiritual path, because I've been doing this for a long time, because I've exchanged with these people, and because I know these things, that I'm not in ego. And yet, if they are faced with viewing a truth that has either never been presented to them, or has, but they have always consistently turned away from it, and truth is frequency, truth is tone, you will be able to feel and witness, not just within them, within yourself, you'll be able to feel and witness where ego is at play, where emotions are at play. And we must understand that we don't just ascend by chance. We don't just ascend by information. Just because we know where we came from, just because if we know we're not from this realm, just because if we're light workers, sometimes there's this assumption that because everything is love and light, because it is, but if you don't understand the truth of love, and if you don't understand the truth of light, then you will hold an assumption that applies to your ego that declares, I am all, and I understand all, and therefore I am claiming everything, but I'm not applying any tone of mastery to provide me with a path of ascension. Ascension is an ascension in perception. All ascended masters ascended in their awareness. Their awareness carried a higher and higher and higher tone. Their all is their ability to see themselves as all and within all. Therefore, there is never a point of separation between them and anything or anyone else. Also, mastery declares that we don't attach to anything that keeps us trapped, right? So if emotional entanglement and thoughts are consistently entrapped in exchanges of communities that are requiring basically that there is a belief that is held, and that belief keeps you in this consistent state of claiming. You're claiming, you're not applying, you're claiming. We get lost. Our soul is consistently fragmented. My hope is that as these master tones step in, more and more people will make the choice to start facing their own bullshit. And I know we think we have. I know people talk about doing shadow work. I get it. Talk about doing shadow work. They've healed, and it's consistently comes up. It comes through myself. It comes through others. I didn't really heal that. That's not, it's still there. It's still coming in. And the reason why it's still coming in is because there's never been a choice to be consistently accessing a reference point of tone. It's just reference point of information, emotional entanglement, getting entangled in these beliefs and feeling good about it, right? That's what a lot of people claim as resonance, because it feels good. But what feels good to everyone until they discover otherwise is that what feels good is the emotional entanglement. It feels good to be high on the absorption of emotions because everyone's coming together and everyone's excited and all the things are being exchanged and the energy is heightened and it feels good. It's like sugar. It's like a sugar rush. And then you crash. Your body is depleted. Everything energetically is depleted. This is also why there is a crash. And if you're so used to it, it might not even show up that way for you. Maybe in your perception, you don't view it as a crash. But energetically, for your cells and for the existence of you through time as a soul, that's exactly what's happening. Your souls are still deteriorating through time because there's no real change. And if there's no real change, there's no real shift. If there's no real shift, there's no real ascension. The mind can shift the perception to believe that there is, therefore the energy will be felt that way. But everything energetically is always a nuance. And if we're not prepared to be fully present within the breath, that's the one thing. You guys have heard me say this. But that quite literally, from those that I've been connected with recently, has been a message that has come through consistently. That when they breathe deeper, when they're in the moment of now, when they're carrying the higher perceptions, they can feel their cells expanding. They can feel everything coming into them, not going out from them. So it's very, very important to understand that there is a nuance here. Welcome, beautiful Aurora. So grateful to have you, my dear. So I drop all this in, not because I want to invite everyone into this is doorway, because everything I say is a doorway. You can step into it if you want, but you don't have to. But if you step into the doorway, you offer yourself an opportunity to expand within a feeling. And that feeling is not limited by what you think, by what you believe, or by what you feel. You're actually free from all three of those, because what you feel is just simple existence. It's not an identity marker of emotion. It's not a physical feeling. It's not a belief. It's just simply an existence of understanding. And understanding, true understanding of the heart, is an understanding that is experienced by bringing and allowing all of that stuff, all the costumes, all the masks that are being worn, that are being paraded around as being powerful. When you allow that bullshit to drop away, when you allow your ego to really be seen for what it really is, and there's a lot out there that when it hits, it's gonna hit, and there's gonna be a wake up that's gonna come in front, and it's gonna ask them to release everything. This is it, and I don't want to see it. This is for all of us. Actually, you know what? No, this is for all of us. This is for all of us. It's not just for some people and not for others. It's for all of us. But it's only for all of us if we are choosing to rise higher. And there's many souls, as we know, there's many souls just like in 3D. They're not here for that journey. Their soul journey is different, and that's okay. But if you begin to rise higher, my dear, beautiful souls, and I know I say this, but I still witness it until it just keeps happening, until the soul can't hold on any longer and there's a breaking point. If you're rising higher and you're still choosing to allow yourself to remain entangled emotionally with those that were on your path prior to before your higher awareness, why are you still choosing to remain entangled? Why? Because a piece of your soul can't ascend if it's still stuck. if it's still entangled. Therefore, there's not a full reclamation. It cannot be. Energetically, frequentially, it's just not possible, because that piece of your soul exists in that part of time, entangled in that belief, that emotion, that person. Therefore, that's where it exists. It's not here with you. It's over here somewhere, and it's floating around. Now, if you don't feel like you're called into the master path right now, that's okay. And I would invite the understanding that the master path is just a graduation from this realm. It's no longer being bound by the physical. It's no longer being bound by the emotional. It's no longer being bound by the mental. It is no longer bound. It is free. It is whole. It is unified in all aspects. Past and projected future are here right now. And it has access to everything. That means healing, all-knowing self. Everything is here. But it can only be here if those aspects of you that you stick to other people can come back to you. So as I'm getting ready to shift into beginning this, and I just wanted to bring this forward. My last soul pod gathering was very, very intense. There was a lot that came to the surface because it was extremely powerful. A lot of emotional entanglement that had been hidden under these aspects of soul that were still lingering somewhere in the past, right? And this has come up for many of them. What was realized, what was the most powerful thing that was realized, and it came up as a joke. One of the sisters brought it in as a joke. She was like, me and one of the other sisters from the soul pod were joking around, having a conversation, and we were talking about how when there's certain exchanges in the soul pod that we just feel like we're passengers on a train and we don't really understand what's happening. And they were laughing because it was funny. I mean, and there was a little bit more to it. And I said, but why would you choose to be a passenger of your own understanding? Why would you choose to be invested in rising higher and being invested in a space of you? It's not just a space of other people. It's a space of you, because all of us are invested in the same commitment of soul. Therefore, each of us is just a mirror into the other. And it's going to show us if you hold empathy, emotional entanglement empathy, or psychic empathy, you will feel sympathy for someone. Sympathy is an ear marker for emotional entanglement, because you sympathize, therefore you lean into, therefore you are absorbed into that belief, because you understand that belief, because you understand that feeling. You understand where that is coming from. Maybe it's defiance, maybe it's fear. Defiance is fear. So if whatever range of fear is present that a person is presenting of themselves, if you sympathize with that, you're empathetic, you're emotional, I lost the word again, it'll drop in. So anyways, so your emotions are very, very dedicated. They're very devoted. So is your mind, because wherever your body, wherever your emotions are, your mind is. You're always there together. Now, maybe not fully, but a part of you is, because your belief is your mind. Therefore, the physical body is invested to some degree, and the emotions are. So the telepathy. So the emotional telepathy or the psychic telepathy are very much interchangeable. You share beliefs psychically, you'll share emotions energetically through the telepathy of emotions. That's the empathy of one side. I say one side because it's one frequency, and that frequency is not a frequency that's accessible through the heart, just so everyone understands. Let me rephrase that. It is not chosen through the heart. It is accessible. Everything is accessible through the heart, but it's not chosen. It is a different point of feeling. The heart, the magnetic lines, do not feel what is felt through those lines, meaning they understand them because they all exist unified, flowing through, but that's not the path of choice. We don't lean in just because someone feels a certain way. You are sovereign. This is why what came through in the group is this realization. It's not that there's not compassion here, but I will not become invested emotionally in another person. I will invite them into releasing themselves from any devotion of others other identities, other beliefs, so that they can come into whole and completion. If I become emotionally invested, then I pull away from the mastery that I can provide from a space that has pulled away from that entanglement. It doesn't mean that it doesn't show up, but it means that I consistently choose to disentangle from it. So I wanted to bring that forward for everyone. And I'm just going to tell you the shifts that has taken place since I spoke into that. And at first it brought up a lot of emotion. She cried and she was like, wow, that felt very serious, but it wasn't serious. It wasn't serious. It was just a truth. And how you perceive truth, you can always tell the tone that you're in based on how you perceive words that are spoken. Not serious, but I do speak with an inflection that is from from what I've received through others is intense. You'll sit up straight. You'll take note, because that's sovereignty. That is sacredness. That is a space where there's so much unconditional here that I open up a space and invite everyone into themselves to experience that unconditional. Not just an intensity on one side or the other, but all of it, because the magnetic lines are 0 point in motion all the time. So when you exist through heart activation, you're no longer the passenger, just sitting back, not understanding anything. You're playing an active role in your own awareness and your own understanding. Understanding, again, does nothing to do with words. Nothing at all. You don't understand the words. You feel the tone that the words are carried on. And if you are in that tone, you understand the words because you understand the tone. If you're attempting to understand from a space that defines words or needs to understand what does that word mean, then you're in a line of dissonance and there's really no availability for communication. The heart doesn't explain anything. It just exists as a tone, and that tone brings everything that is available for you to witness within yourself. And that illumination, I understand, is intense. It's going to shake everything up. It's going to bring everything to the surface. So maybe a person doesn't even know, a soul doesn't even know that it's in defiance of until it's placed right in the direct path of full light. Because if you're used to filtering all truths through a belief system, which is filtering it through the emotions, a belief of what that feels like, filtering it through the mind, what I think that is, what I believe that is, and how do I feel about what I believe. So you have all these filters, and therefore the light becomes fragmented. You're not receiving the full intensity of your own truth because you've never been in an exchange with pure truth, meaning pure frequency. There's nothing that's breaking the bullshit up for you. You just remain in the costume and in the mask playing the game. And that's great if that's the path that the soul is on. And I have a feeling for those that consistently show up here and receive the message, it's probably not a path you're meant to remain on. It's just my guess. I don't feel like you would be consistently brought into to hearing this if there wasn't something here that was drawing you in. So when I speak from a space that is completely free. It is not overly excited. It is not serious because I don't identify it. It just is. And it's so free that there's no identity. There doesn't need to be an identity because my physical body doesn't move in one direction or the other on a cellular level because I'm not attached or leaning into becoming attached to what a person feels or believes. And that doesn't mean I'm disconnected. It means I'm actually inviting them into their heart where they can be free too. Emotions play a very funny game. And if we are ruled by emotions, then what we believe and what we perceive is always layered under these intense, very thick, like glue. It's like a substance of glue. I mean, that's also why we have it in the physical. It's because it's very dense. Identities of anything are egoic, which makes them very, very dense, which is how we comprehend them. You're very welcome, my dear. And if the only way that we are used to comprehending and understanding resonance is through emotional entanglement, then our resonance is always defined by what emotion we are drawn to and that identity of that emotion. So therefore, we will always emotionally or energetically sync up with those that believe similarly to us, and we will remain in cyclical relationships with those who harness the same beliefs. Therefore, we don't ascend because it's still cyclical in terms of remaining stuck. So I just want to bring that into everyone's awareness. And I promise you, there is a difference. There is a difference. It is felt, and it can only be understood once you are in the direct line of the sight. Meaning, if you just receive it as a message, it's powerful. If you're in the direct line of sight, meaning you are faced by viewing yourself in that message in something that is personal, meaning it's your own experience, what I say is not personal, ever. But if it's an invitation for you to receive yourself and view yourself within the message. So it's not directed at anyone or anything. It's a direction of light. That's all it is. So at the same time, if there are aspects that are necessary to be viewed, that are pulled into my awareness, that I don't know who they're connected to, because it doesn't matter who they're connected to. It doesn't. The people don't matter. The names don't matter. What does matter is that it is able to be viewed, because at the end of the day, everyone is a frequency. Everyone is a tone. The tone depends on where you're dialing in at. I love that, Louise. There's been a lot opening up. I've been hearing a lot on the left side too. And that's because true flow is consciousness. Most people think they're in the flow because they're in a flow of feel good. They're in a flow of emotions. They're in a flow of entanglement, which is not really flow, but it feels good because it's comfortable and you're not shifting out of it. True flow is going to make you uncomfortable. True flow is going to shake things up. True flow is consciousness and a consistent merge into higher consciousness. And when I say it's going to shake things up and it might be a little bit uncomfortable, it doesn't mean it's painful. It's just, you're going to know, you're going to feel it. You're going to realize, here's the nuance. The reason why it's uncomfortable is because when you awaken into the perception, you're going to feel how much discomfort you have actually been in. That's why it's uncomfortable. It's not that the light or that consciousness is uncomfortable, because it's not. Most people are just so layered under belief and under emotional entanglement that they don't realize just how uncomfortable their all really is, because it's trapped. The cells are stuck. The cells aren't ascending. The DNA isn't ascending. And therefore, you don't know until you know, and until you feel. That's where the knowing really drops in. And again, it's a feeling that is not limited by emotions or physical. It actually moves outside of that. You quite literally will feel it as if all of you is just a ball of energy, and you understand within that ball where you're feeling and what you're feeling. It's not separated, it's not segmented, but it is able to locate within itself where those aspects have been anchored. And this means the majority are still in the lower dantian. We're still rising out of the solar plexus. We have access to the heart. That's the point. But many are claiming being in the heart just simply because they believe they are, without the understanding of what that feels like. If you've never felt the pull, if you've never been in a true activation or feeling or experience, again, this is consistently in front of me right now in my connection through others, consistently, like in one-on-ones, or, which by the way, I have shut down right now until next month. I'm not, I've got one-on-one left to wrap up, and then I'm taking a little bit of a break from one-on-ones. I will next month though. So, but if you don't have an opportunity to truly experience it, which means you allow yourself to shift out of needing answers and just having the experience. And so And speaking into that, we're going to shift. So here's my invitation. You don't need answers, but you should always, always, always have a why. It's not about having answers. You don't need all the information. None of that matters. Unless you just want to be a sponge. unless you want to be a sponge. So I just want to put that out there. If you guys give me 1 second, I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. If it pauses for a second, just so you know. Okay, apologies. I had to clear something off of my screen. So thank you. And yeah, Lori, hi Lori. You're my last one-on-one for the month. And you're all very, very welcome. Ah, okay. I'm so glad you asked that. In response to relationships. So first and foremost, I want to bring an example in. If you guys would offer me a few extra moments to speak into this before we shift into the tone, if everyone is open to that, I will speak into it. Relationships. So first and foremost, I want to place the word in front of everyone, relationships. If you really feel the word, there's something that is identity marker based, egoic based, connected into that word. So if we first understand why we choose relationships to begin with, we understand that we step into them because there is some part of us that still seeks to have the physical, the emotional. There's something there that we feel we need. We say we don't need it, but we choose it. If we choose it, why are we choosing it if we don't need it? Now, I'm gonna bring in a reference point and shift into some other, I'm gonna bring in the nuances of what I'm saying here. Now, there has been it consistently brought into my awareness from others that relationships, we're here to experience the physical. That's what we're here for. And you're right. Yes, that's what we've been here for the entire time, not just this incarnation. We have come into this realm consistently to have that experience of the physical, of the emotional, of the mental. That was the purpose. But you only need one incarnation to experience all of it. It only takes one incarnation. It does not take many, but of course we believe it does because we never learn the lessons. Therefore, we feel like we need to learn more. But everything is always here. It does not take multiple incarnations. But the reason why we come back again and again is because of the entanglement, because we didn't learn and we didn't master. So in regards to relationships with friends, relationships with family, relationships with a significant other, everything shifts based on what we perceive. So it does not negate those that we connect with, but the connection comes in from a different path, right? It comes in from a different tone. Therefore, when you step into the master path and you no longer choose relationships or friendships, this doesn't mean you don't connect with other people, bear with me. You just don't choose the ego version of you that always steps into those connections. They're very, what I say is we feel like there's depth, but they're very surface level. Because if you're just talking to someone on a day-to-day basis, what are you gaining from that conversation? And maybe you are, I don't know. But what are you gaining from that conversation other than feeling connected to someone? Other than the emotional entanglement, other than the sharing of words, what is coming in? Is there depth? And if there is depth, where is the depth coming from? Is it coming from the emotional entanglement? Is it coming from the beliefs? Or is the depth coming from a rise in perception where you are able to see yourself in a higher vantage point? That's the higher self. So if you're not gaining higher self through your connections, you're remaining in the same version of self that has been. It just looks a little different, right? So as we step onto the path and as we rise, when we are choosing the path and only the path, which means those that are aligned to the path in that moment, those connections that are meant to come in, and then they go back out. We don't hold on to anyone or anything. We consistently rise. And this is even in regards to those that are married. There, I have those in my soul pod who is married. And when she understood that her marriage was not it was of course brought in, marriages are brought in from the system. You dedicate and devote your love to another person, and through that devotion, you give your love to another person. Well, she realized that that was not the devotion that she wanted to be a part of. She's still married, but that was not the devotion she wanted to play a part in or play a role in. So she chose to step onto a path of mastery, and the whole contract of marriage was disintegrated. Now, I say she's still married, but that contract, that system of devotion to one another in that way was completely disintegrated. It was no longer chosen. Yes, their paths separated, and then they came back. And now she is on a path of mastery. He's on a path of mastery. They're at different places, but she is the guiding point. She is the pillar. Therefore, and she is a part of the soul pod. And he is, in his own way, still linking and syncing up into that through her. And she is guiding. But she doesn't teach him anything. He understands what he understands. He has his own path. He chooses his path. She has her path. She chooses her path. That is a true path of what I would say is connection from souls that are not dependent on one another. This is allowing the exchange to be free. They both choose and walk the path that they know is going to lead them higher. And they both understand, just as she is very well expressed, that if that leads her fully away and out of that connection, eventually they both understand, then that's the way it's meant to be. Whatever is necessary for the soul to gain all of itself upon ascension, it's honored. There's no attachment. Her children understand. I mean, when you are the pillar, the true pillar of mastery, you are the reference point for tone, which means everyone in the bloodline and those even outside of the bloodline receive the tone. They learn from the tone, because blood always connects and speaks, especially those in the same bloodline. It speaks to one another. The blood platelets, they communicate through frequency. So all information is passed down either through genetic markers or through higher tones of light, which come in and shift the genetic markers out of what has been known into what is here now. Therefore, you no longer remain trapped in time. You can ascend through time, and those in the bloodline are no longer trapped by those incarnate cycles. They too have an opportunity to ascend through time, but they also must choose their path, right? Nothing happens by chance. Everything happens by choice. So it opens the gateway for anyone, all past lives, all projected future, to come into and work cohesively on a soul level without needing anything from one another. So as we begin to and continue to embody our true soul, and again, embodiment is not physical, it's not emotional, it's not mental, it is all. It is all. So if you reside in one of the bodies more than the other, then you're not fully embodying. Our soul can only rise if we are choosing the tone that pulls us higher. We always hear it. Doesn't mean we answer it, but it's always here. It's here right now. We have an opportunity to answer it. So I would invite everyone to allow themselves to understand that we are given conditions, we are given understandings, and that's where relationships and friendships fall into. Why do we have them? Because one, we've always had them, because we've always been taught that that's a part of the social life. And in this realm, in terms of ascension, right now, there is an exchange that happens on a sacred level that is a necessary part of ascension, but it comes from a sacred tone. It's not just gathering for the sake of gathering, and it's not just having friends just so you can talk and feel better. I mean, that's great and good, but eventually when you're realizing that that doesn't serve anything than just the ego, why are you choosing it? Why are you choosing it? So now I hope that this has provided some clarity. And again, it doesn't negate. I just want to say anything I speak into doesn't negate anything. It doesn't mean that you're a hermit living on a mountain, but it does mean that you begin to devote to you, not selfishly. Selfish is actually the ego, but we are receiving, gosh, there's so much distortion around what selfish is. So much distortion. We believe that if we don't connect with others, that we're selfish and we're not being a part of the planetary whatever. There's so much ideology out there. I'm going to place the masters in front of you. Which master are you aware of? I mean, this is probably going to create, people are probably going to get really agitated by this. I can feel it, but I'm going to speak into it. What masters do you know hold retreats? There is an ego aspect to a lot of the things in the spiritual community that are claiming that this helps us master. This helps us heal. Healing is natural, just like ascension is natural, and it happens naturally through choice. Other people do not heal us, but they can be a presence of sovereignty, which invites us into the choices that heal ourselves. That's what the masters were presenting, is understanding that there was always, even in the stories of Yeshua, there's so many stories. We don't even really know, just so everyone understands, we don't really know the truth of Yeshua. Many think that they do on the spiritual path because they know of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, and there's been so many channelings. There's so much truth there, but then there's so much yet that we still have that's placed under layers of illusion, even in regards to their connection. Their lives existed in a way that honored the physical. Simultaneously, the choices were always leading into higher, always. It was never about having the relationships. It was never about the family connections were there, but even in the minuscule aspects of truth that we read in the stories like the Bible, it speaks into. One is not attached to family. One is not attached to the land. One is not attached to their brother, their sister, their mother, their father, their wife, their husband. That if they remain, then they do not inherit the earth. The earth is inherited when no energetic link remains. When you no longer need to come back, when you no longer have to come back, because every planet is a school. And either you're going to learn and you're going to graduate or you're not. It's just the way it is. And it's not that serious. And at the same time, it is your soul. But you don't have to be serious about it, but it is your soul. Hello, beautiful Greg. I love you, my dear. Welcome. So because it is your soul, I would just simply invite you to lean into the choices which honor the wholeness and the completion of your soul. Because everything else truly is just an illusion. And everything else, hello, beautiful hummingbird. Hello, my friend. Everything else really is an illusion. And even the relationships, what you believe of them, what you believe they hold, it's an illusion because it's something that you believe is needed. And if you believe that you need it, then your soul is held in the game. So, our true reality is consciousness. And it is not just saying that we're making conscious choices. That's very easy. It's very easy to say that we are. As the tones here now of the indigo, violet, and as mentioned, the Saint Germain, we are now going into the activation, Greg, so perfect timing. The tones of Saint Germain, they're tones of mastery. The masters are simply tones, they're rays. Those are the rays that they mastered within. That's why when we hear of Saint Germain, violet ray. So, rokokokoshi. Now, the deeper understanding within that means rakakai, that every image is released. And there are no images connected to Saint Germain. Torokoshiki akuku. And then there's just the pure song. There's the pure tone. Torokoshika indakoroko. And everything that is expressed, there's so much opening. So I'm just going to go ahead and invite you in. Rakakiki marush. If you are in some way outside of yourself trying to understand, I would invite you in. Darakashikorokokia marakari. Just to close your eyes, to deepen within the breath. And we are going to begin shifting in consciousness. We were already in a higher state of consciousness. We're going to shift higher. Marakoshia urukukuku. Deepening into the breath. Each breath, you are moving and expanding within the infinite eternal. Each breath, you feel the existence of all that you are, everything. Meaning, even in the breath, you can feel if you're holding resistance or fragmentation. In the breath, you will feel if you are holding yourself in expansion or upholding yourself in expansion. Or within the breath, are you noticing tension? Sakiya, where your body is relaxing because it was tense. The breath will show you everything. And all that comes into the breath is revealed. Because all that is coming into the awareness within the now is revealed, always. If you are always so consumed with other things, with other thoughts, with other people, you're not connecting with the eternal now. The breath is showing you always what's here. Even sometimes when we're in meditation, a lot of times we're actually still, there's a deepening of presence that we're not anchoring into. This is another thing that I've learned recently through the one-on-ones I was having. There was a level, a threshold that had just simply not been achieved. They had reached a threshold and there was nothing beyond it. Within the heart, within the true heart, there is no threshold. Now, when we say we go into the heart, just for clarity, we don't have to put ourselves there. We exist there automatically. There is no process. There's simply the existence of. These activations assist you in awakening to the experience within yourself and consistently having an opportunity to hold that tone, that magnetic line. The magnetic lines are the golden lines. The golden lines are what a lot of people are claiming. Just like gold in the real, in the illusion, the gold, the physical gold, it's coveted. A lot of people want it. A lot of people want to claim that which they don't really understand. This is why when we release emotional entanglement, we can see others for what they really are and what they really are choosing. It doesn't mean that we don't hold them in the highest witness, but they must choose to hold themselves there before they can come into our orbit. That is how it is meant to be. Ish. Zari aruk ashk ark ashki aruk ushk arkis. I will bring this before you now as we shift deeper. Where are you placing obligation upon yourself to be with others, to do things, to experience things? Where are you placing an obligation upon yourself that is actually restricting you from your heart? In the path of the star. I also want to bring into everyone's awareness when we speak of Ra, we are simply speaking of the sun. This is why we hear the sun god Ra. Ra is simply a tone. Our sun is Ra. It is a consciousness. And that consciousness is still awakening into and arising in its own ascension. It is now syncing up with the central sun, because there are those of us that are syncing up with the central sun. And we have one star, the star of Ra, we have the star of the earth, sa, sa, sa. And then we have the star of our heart, rokoshinda. The star of the heart, I feel, is da, rokokoko, zukurukushia, zinga arak ok, shakari. The infinite, the capacity, the infinite capacity, orokuku. And I know that there are, in other languages, that holds a different definition maybe. But in tone, that's how I feel it. Rukukushi marak urukush, and understand it. Rukukukuku. Just as I know we have in other languages, Ma in the chants and the mantras represents the moon, urukukuku. But I also receive Ma as interchangeable with Sa, rukukukuya, isiki ar kushk. As consciousness, as that the tonality, feminine tonality, that's a feminine tonality. Now, feminine does not mean woman. Feminine does not mean woman, just as masculine does not mean male. There's a big egoic identity that most people think that just because a divine masculine is in a male body, that they are healing the divine masculine. Big misconception. Just because you're in a woman body does not mean that you automatically represent the divine feminine. The divine feminine, the divine masculine are tones of consciousness. But the body gives access to deepen into the understanding of what these represent. We have representation of that in the egoic identities of male and female. That's there, right? It's there. The creativity of the feminine, the structure of the masculine. It's there. We just release the egoic identity around it. We can feel the presence of it within the tones. So children of the sun, rukushia, or children of purity, are those that rise in dimensionality, within the lines of magnetic light, either they have never descended, or they are always choosing to ascend within. Just as we have planets that have ascended with the sun, and there are other planets that are not ascending. We actually have a planet that is in shadow. And it is attaching and holding very heavily. It is also distorting some of the understandings of those on this planet. There is always energetic influence, and there is always an ability to rise. Even planets that remain in shadow are simply attached to something. There was a point of consciousness that was never able to ascend simply because there was some belief that was never able to ascend. This is why beliefs are meant to be released. The consciousness of this planet will only ascend if we no longer hold tight to any belief. And I mean the consciousness of each person. I'm going to invite you now to breathe deep. And each breath, feeling how the light opens you up. I'm inviting you to set an intention and also understanding that if you honor your choice to be present, regardless of the intention that is set, your choice to be in the presence of your own awareness will honor through the intentionality of being present. So if you honor yourself with the intention of just being present in this journey without needing to understand, the understanding is the feeling. If you hear something and you want to know more, please call that back in. You don't need to know more. I actually felt a ping in my on the right side representing that quote unquote masculine line. So if there are any of you in that logical that are attempting to understand, please call that back in. There's a part of you that wants to know more of anything that I said. Call it in. Take a deep breath. And just allow whatever of you is meant to view, is ready to view, is able to view, and is choosing to view, to be present. Do not chase or seek. Now, to deepen into your journey, you can ask. You can always ask, what is here for me to understand within this? For this is a part of you. But for now, just allow the journey to unfold through you. Requesting to access the tones of the violet flame, the tones of the violet ray, and calling in the libraries of the Saint Germain tonality. Ruk. Jatai imbaru, kori uri ishiakamak uri aru, siamak us. Zatai ki shiakanamari isi kurukush. Please declare, I accept, I receive. Narakisi ishiakurikai. Not only declaring I accept, I receive, but I would invite you also yourself to call it in, requesting access, and then accepting the access. That is also your conscious intentionality at work. Rukushi karamarayushi arina. Dialing in and toning. Requesting the sequencing. Sinamari isi kurukushia aramari isia kurukushia mara aishi urukushia mara ari. Sakanimi ari ushari isi kuru uri a samarak urukush. Sakuri ari siki amak urukush. Sakamari ishi uruk amaru sakarak urukush. My invitation for you now is to dial in and tone. Urukushia marakuria sia kurukukuya. You must speak to the tone to receive the tone. I am receiving the sequence as 7774. Uruk utik ishi aruk asakuri amaruk ushk. The numerical sequencing is just, again, like a dial tone. You're dialing in. Do not get caught up in needing to understand the numbers. The numbers are vibrations. Each number is a geometric structure, if you will. It is consistently shifting depending on the inflection of the tone. So each time you tone, each time you make a sound, that's the sound of light. And the numbers are also an inflection, a sequence of light. So you are speaking to the light, and the light is speaking to you, just as if you dial a number on a phone and there's a person on the other side speaking. So this time it's you. As well as in this reference point, the libraries of Saint Germain. Now the libraries that are here supporting within the violet flame or further assisting and deepening in the clearing of any conditions or beliefs. Now, the only way that this can truly work for you is if you allow anything of you, especially in connection with Saint Germain, that you hold any belief to be released. And consistently allowing beliefs to no longer stand between you and your connection and your tone or your attunement within the violet flame. Zakari akori isiya maragushia ark ak urk ushk urk ushk urk ushk. Zaktak ark suktuk ark suktuk ark suktuk ark suktuk urk suktuk urk suktuk urk suktuk urk shk urk shk urk shk shk. Maria sukurias ya kurias ya kurias ya kurias ya kurias. Rukukia Maria sukurukushia karmariesia kurku. Zimikia kurukushia karikia ruk amagus. Zaki margasia kurukisia kurukushia karmargesia kurkush. Imakarisia kurukushia 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 zukuria kurukuku. Kari uruk as shuku shuku shuku. Calling in bells ruk shuk ruk shuk ruk shuk. Zakari marek uruk marek uruk marek uruk marek uruk. Calling in bells from the fifth dimensional astral etheric ruk planetary violet flame. Urukashi arik uruk. These are the bells of clarity. Arik ushkia, arik ushkia, arik ushkia, arik ushkia. Zukuria mariasia, kurukushkia, animi arik uruk ushkia. Circling around uruk ushkia, uruk ushkia, uruk ushkia. The zukuriasia throat and higher. Marakuria, 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 suktukuria, masukuria, masukuria, saktakuria, marak urik shk uk. Calling in crystalline compounds from the fifth and seventh dimensional astral etheric, planetary cosmic, violet flame, Inasi kuriasia 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 rouge. Inasi kuria diaruk aruk ashk. Allow yourself to dial in. Torukushia rukukuya maruk urkush. Allowing yourself to feel your connection. Rakakiya kuruya sukurikuya kiarik marikuria kurikak. Imediasia turkushia rukukuya. Rakakiya mariusia arik ak ark ak ark ak. The bells of clarity will continuously sound. Anytime you are leaning into a projected belief. Zakari me is Shia. Zina Maria, 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 Kori, Saka uru asha ina. Sakari aru asuku asaki. Zaka uru ush uruk ush uruk ush. Now remember, shukurias, this activation, this journey, is a journey of activated remembering. This does not mean past lives. Urukushia arak. It is merely activating uruk uruk ush, the heart. Zak arak asi nari isiku. You are not here because you need to remember anything other than your power and your capacity of being in the presence of your own awareness. Rukusi arik asi mari ush arik ush. Allow all that shows itself to you to flow into the heart. Rakasikimi itik urik ush. What identity markers are you holding in place? What conditions are you putting in front of the heart that are claiming that you understand? This would be sympathy. I understand you because I sympathize with you. This actually closes your heart off. It does not open your heart up. Zaki mari Zaki arkas. You will be consumed, of course, within the emotional body. It may feel that way, but there is a line of devotion there that is limited. It does not negate the other person or your connection to them. It is simply calling you into a higher placement of understanding. When you exist within the heart as an activated magnetic presence, everything that is expressed through you calls them within themselves, does not call them to be dependent upon you. What belief are you placing there? What idea are you placing there? What aspect are you placing there that says, I need you to hear what I have to say? This is what you need to understand. This is what you need to know. This is how you need to hear me. Likewise, and this applies to everything. It applies to everything. Because if we truly open and allow, if we just allow what even we have been viewing as the violet flame, or the violet ray, and if we just allow ourselves to rise through the feeling of the heart, the magnetic lines, which is the presence of expansiveness. Then we feel our existence connected into this ray or this cosmic tone of light. Inamaras kurku. Inamaras kurku. Inamaras kurku. 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 Take a few deep breaths and just settle. Allow yourself to be in the presence of the feeling of the magnetism. We are being pulled, guided by the heart. There, we are now moving into a new design. Well, new for this moment. This is a geometric design. Where those numbers, those sequences are unfolding. Allow yourself to dial into which you are an active participant within. When you dial in, you are expressing. You're not a bystander. Of your own heart. Even if this just means making sounds, if you've never spoken light, make sounds. Dial in and receive. Dial in and receive. The sequence is unfolding. This activation is an experience of how you move within the tone. For me, my body will always follow the pattern or the design. As if I had a pen to paper and I was drawing a design, my body, or all of me, you can see the body, but it's actually all of my energy is moving in a geometric design. This, as we rise in consciousness, this is how we move into our body of light, what is known as the Merkaba, which is a geometric vehicle, a design. Now, there is a singular Merkaba that is a very specific blueprint that the mind can travel in with the assistance of consciousness. As your consciousness rises higher in all of you, where the heart and the mind are unified, and all of you rises, then all of you moves within the line as the design. Eventually, the mind will no longer create the design. The field of light opens the path. It is the magnetic line, and all comes into and flows within. Now, this does not mean that you do not see geometric shapes. There's always a shift that is happening. Eventually, even how you see or perceive the shape will shift. Thus meaning that you are the design, that it is not outside of you. Whatever design, whatever geometric shape that you are continuously shifting into, that your consciousness is traveling within. Eventually, it will be a ball of consciousness that travels, that is no longer bound by the physical or the mind. So what is here? What is, I'm sure the question is, for some, what role does Saint Germain play in this? Because I can hear that question consistently coming up. What does that have to do with this? So there are certain libraries, certain inflections within this tone that carry, I'm using Saint Germain is merely a reference point, a specific set of inflections, of tones. This is what we're leaving it at for now. A certain set of inflections for now. There is a lot that is here to go deeper within. But in order for us to understand Saint Germain, or any master within their tone, we must understand the experience of the tone. And not need to know what it means. Just allowing the words to free flow, not needing anything to be informed within. So just allowing it to be a sound, allowing it to be a vibration, a tone, and the inflection, which is the sequencing. The sequencing opens the libraries. Now, there's always a mirror sequence, but for this one, I've been invited by my highest aspect and within consciousness to present this for, I am feeling where many will just get, there will be a, or it's all that's necessary. Let's just say that. It is all that is necessary. Now we're going to place the numbers in front of us. I would invite you to watch as each number, 7, 7, 7, 4, shifts. Numbers, like words, are not definitive by what we think we understand or what we think we know or what our culture has taught us. They're not even limited by geometry. They're not limited by definition, but they are free-flowing within the design of the design of language, the design of numbers. Geometry is a design. There's much we have still yet to discover within this design that is not geometry. but is the design of sound and light tones, which is sound, rukokoi. But the design of light, rukosha, the design, rukoya, of the sound, through us, ikari, shikurukukukuya. And as you create the sound, this is where the cells really learn. And it's not just the sound, it's where the sound is coming from. The tone. All cells respond to sound. The tone the sound is carried on makes all the difference. Just like we've seen water respond to joy and to fear. As we rise and go higher in consciousness, we must also understand that if our beliefs are carried on fear, just because they are wearing a mask of love and light, does not mean that we are responding on a cellular level to true light. Moving once again. Well, we're consistently moving, bringing in new sounds. And now we begin pulling all from the third eye. Into the heart. Everything slows. Everything expands. We feel the sound. Relaxing within the sound, relaxing within the vibration as the third eye opens. Now remember, again, it's just like the heart. Many think they are viewing through the true third eye. The third eye is not fully available for us. It is simply not. We will not have access to the fullness of any of the higher until we have mastered what is here within the heart. Su. Sukurkuka ain ishu ur ski mari ur ish zara mrik urk 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 urk. Allow it to open, allow yourself to view whatever comes through. Bring it in. And now we call in the bells for clarity. Sokoriakia kia kia ko sokoriatia, 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 sokoria da 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 ra sa 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 da. Heavy magnetism incoming. Requesting to receive clarity on all that is here now. Within this perception shift, within this ability to view all that has been received, what are you still allowing that does not serve? What are you bringing in that does? Inamarik urk ushk urk ushk urk ushk urk ushk. Remembering Ra, the sun, it is simply the star. Rukuku, it is a tone. Ra, 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 ra. Suk, ku, ku, ku. Allowing yourself to be present within that understanding through yourself. We have those that have come to this realm, such as Ra, using the tone, the vibrational tone of the dimensional ascension that this being brought in. Remember, we are only able to view what is ascending now within this outer dimensional plane, but we have interdimensional higher. The interdimensional was guided by the central star, the heart of consciousness for this planet. Therefore, that's why we have A system star, the solar system star. All are linked in time now to the central sun. Our sun is a gateway. Beings that come in and use that tone are coming in through that gateway. Welcome, Simran. So grateful to see you. I'm even feeling, just so everyone is aware, through the third eye and the release of some of these illusionary projections. And remember, I'm not doing it for you. The light is not doing it for you. All that is opening here through this activation is consistently accessible by you and through you and is upheld through you. So if any choice is made that pulls away from that, you further distort that which you have accessed and gained. Please hold that in the heart. So the ocular, the vision, the physical, I can feel it and see it undergoing reconstruction. So if you have some physical sensations there or blurry vision, please understand your ocular is being revised. There's also heavy opening through the hips. Which for us right now is the birthing space of illusion. Because most are still in the lower dantian. They are still connected to the lower physical or emotions that hold consistently into the physical. As that is opening, just please allow. Deep breath. And now we will seal. Zaramari ikurukuku ashkuk. Zare ark ask ask. Zan ark zukurk shkuk. Baraguri asi arguk and ark ambak urkushk. Zari urkuku ark ask. Marak urk urk mak urkushk. Are ina urk. Shkuruk uruk marak uruk Sari rik shkuruk shkuruk skuruk rukushk reruku uruk 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 suktuk uruk tarik uruk 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 ark uruk zark ark ak ai marik uruk ashk sak shk shk shk. All right, beautiful souls. Just allow yourself to breathe in. Zuktuk. All has been activated. All is complete. So just allow yourself to open your physical eyes whenever it is aligned. Lots of clearing, like there's so much in the throat, sinuses, ears. If one, now please, if you, it's not a cold, you're not sick, it's not sinuses, it's not allergies, it's not the flu or flu-like symptoms. It is simply reconstruction. It is your cells reforming. If they are able to, they will. Remembering that the tone is upheld through cells that can find themselves within that tone consistently. This is why I speak into the path of choice so much, is because loving you, my dear. Yes. Reminding you that your cells are only and ever going to find themselves if you are choosing to be present in a state that allows the ability for the cells to find themselves in wholeness and completion. I'm already feeling as soon as we shifted fully, throat hurting, scratching. I felt itchiness in the ears, sinus pressure, if you will. It's not sinus pressure, it's reconstruction, but it's happening in the sinus cavity. Thank you, Aurora. So the physical body, we must remember the physical body and what we know, what we understand of the cells is not ever just the physical. The physical, of course, is the byproduct of everything that comes in from out here. And everything that comes in from out here is either going to stop in the mental, it's going to stop in the emotional, or it's just going to filter a little bit through the mental. It's going to filter a little bit through the emotional, and it's going to finally make it to the physical. And whatever part of it makes in the physical is where the cells are trying to find. So this is why it's so important to be in a choice and a presence and an awareness that allows all of it to come in. And again, I understand that many think it is, and they think they're allowing that, but what they're really allowing is still a continual distortion of entanglement, beliefs, emotions. Therefore, you have all of this that's out here coming in, and it is filtering through so many different lenses, and it's fragmenting, and your time and your energy and everything is consumed, and therefore your cells are consumed, and therefore they're not consuming light. They're consumed by what you believe the light is. So it's the existence of the physical body is always going to be directed on what's believed, emotionally entangled, or what's clearing of that. Now, if this holds resonance within you, and you're not willing to look at the places, the people, the things that you are still entangled with, then all that's going to happen is you're just claiming resonance. Please, my dear souls, please. I would invite you to please start facing any bullshit that you're holding in the way of your light. Because we are all holding it. We all have held it. And any choice that is not allowing us to just keep going, keep wearing the mask, keep wearing the costume, keep playing the game, then yeah, it's all about love and light. It's all about that false kumbaya, and everyone feels safe and secure because they're in a group of people that make them feel safe and secure, but the safety and security within doesn't exist. Not truly. And it does not negate the connections, my beautiful souls. It doesn't. It's simply, you can feel even as I say that, where that comes from. You can feel it. And the question is, are you hyped up on emotional entanglement? Or are you immersed in the truth? The light is simply tone. It's more than just a word. It's more than just a belief. It's so much more. And I witness this so much, the claiming of it, so much, so much. But that is what it is. It is what it is. The message is here. The message is the tone. The tone is the message. And everything that we have been imagining is, if we really remove the ideology and the imagery, we actually, even in regards to the rose codes and the way of the rose, there is so much that's entangled in that people don't realize emotionally that actually keeps them in some sort of range of distortion or fear. Because they really realize how much they have attached to it, that they remain attached, and there's so much that can fall away that was holding on to it in such a way that it was distorting the soul, and it was distorting the mind, it was distorting the emotions, it was all distorting because the view is distorted. If the view is distorted, the self is distorted. So rose codes, if you will, are heart codes. And I say this because the way of the rose is the way of the heart. And it's, if we allow ourselves as always to bring that in, and realizing that just like a tree, allowing the imagery to be free and no longer identifying, it will really help us with anything that we have attached to what that identity is. Because just like the Ascended Master teachers, just like Ra, it's just a tone. It's just a tone of that aspect of our own system that holds so much more than what we expand out of. And because others have come here with what we know at this point and what we have connected into, we take what we receive and it passes through a lens of belief or ideology or idea. An idea is a belief, what we think we believe of it, what we have an idea of. So I just want to leave this here for everyone. Okay. The beings that have come in here that have names, if you will, they were just simply using tone. So, and again, we take what we hear in tone, and by that time it passes through a filter of language. And language, until now, has been very, very limited by understanding. It still is. It's freeing itself, just like numbers. But the only way that understanding can hold a greater tone, and be free, is if you yourself are investing in a perception that can hold that understanding. So, thank you all for receiving. Thank you so much for receiving this activation. Thank you for receiving all that is here of yourself. And as always, I'm so grateful to be here and joined with each of you. I hope that there has been an opportunity here for you to feel, to experience, to hopefully understand, and to maybe open up that doorway or that gateway within yourself that no longer seeks to be limited and no longer concerns yourself. It's never about other people, you guys. Even your own family and those that you hold dear, that everything shifts if you shift, even the family, like I was speaking into. Thank you, beautiful soul. There's so much more here in the bigger picture. I'm only ever inviting everyone to step into the bigger picture and take a moment to begin investing the devotion back into the soul. Okay? I love you all. I look forward to seeing you all next time. I don't know when that'll be, but I will definitely, I do feel I might be stepping back into these a little bit more often. We'll see. There's so much that's here right now. So Love you all so much, and I will catch up with you soon. Until then, Adonai.